Hi everyone, my name is Dave, and welcome to Extra Credit, a video series where we take an unscripted look at topics related to local history and exploring that history. So, as we normally do at the start of every episode, just a quick reminder to visit my website. You'll find a link in the description there. You'll find all kinds of content related to the topics we take a look at in this video series and then some, including a section for extra credit. So in that area, you'll find all of our past episodes. So if you're new to Extra Credit, you haven't seen anything that we've done before, you can basically scroll through and have a look at past episodes. If you've taken a look at Extra Credit before, you can go back and revisit a past episode, or if you've missed something along the way, you can certainly have a look at those as well. Additionally, there's going to be a sort of a few little teasers as well. So basically a little bit of a look at some of the upcoming episodes that we're going to be recording. Maybe we've done part of the episode already, and we just have to record this part, the little narration part. So again, it'll just give you an opportunity to see what's coming along in the future. Now, additionally, you'll be able to follow me on social media. So you'll be able to find me on Facebook, and you'll be able to find me on Instagram. And last but not least, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification. There's all kinds of content that drops regularly on the channel. And if you're waiting for it to come out on social media, there's generally a lag. There's always a delay. So for example, this week I'm just finishing up this sort of season's posts on some of the explorations I did last year. I'm only managing to get through about 35% of the posts or the videos that I did last year, just simply because I sort of started late and there hasn't been a lot of time to sort of post things. So there's a whole whack of videos that are probably not going to be coming out on social media until next year. So again, if you're subscribed to the channels, you turn on the notification, you'll be able to get that content just as soon as it is posted. So basically we're back. We had a little bit of a break last month with that episode from our travels over to Europe. And so we're back into our local history topics. As you can see, that this is a part 2 video. And so in the past, we've done a part 1 video on the Grand Trunk Pacific, which was one of the railway lines that was built in this area, historically speaking. And there are sections of it that sort of still exist, but the bulk of the railway line is now gone. It's been abandoned, depending on what section you're taking a look at, anywhere from 100 years ago to just over 30 years ago. And so this is another little sub-series here. We're going to take a look at basically sections of the line. So in this case, this little exploration is going to be taking us to a very, very well-known piece, maybe to some people, maybe not to everybody, and certainly it'll give some folks an opportunity to go out and sort of have a look for themselves. So we're going to be focusing on an area that is known as the Moose's Nose, also sometimes referred to as the Devil's Elbow. So this area is actually right inside the city of Thunder Bay. It's actually kind of close to the sort of the western periphery of the city, but it's still within city limits itself. I've been on this area numerous times, going back to the mid 1990s, when I sort of first became familiar with the old Grand Trunk Pacific line, and kind of exploring it sort of back then. What's interesting, and I was just sort of thinking about this as I was planning to record this segment here. So we've been through the area before. We did some videos on it back in 2020, and then we obviously, I wanted to redo the videos because there was a lot of new information that I sort of wanted to add to it. And so last year we filmed part of it in mid-March, and then we filmed the other part of it literally a year ago. I think would be like tomorrow, so around the 22nd of April. So today's the 21st of April. Today is Easter Monday, so just after the Easter holiday here, and so it is a holiday for people like me, and so took the opportunity to go to camp. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the same weather that we did last year, and the snow has been very, very slow going away. And I've been sort of waiting because obviously I want to get out and go hiking and do some exploring. We're going to be a bit later than we were last year. So last year we were already out. We were already kind of doing explorations. It's going to be a number of weeks before we're out. There's still some snow on the ground, and I'll show you a shot of what it looks like today. So yesterday was gorgeous. It was a beautiful day. You can see the snow was melting. It's going to be beautiful again tomorrow. It's supposed to be up to like 7-8 degrees, which is still kind of below normal for this time of the year, but certainly good compared to what you're going to see today. And so you'll see the winter wonderland that we have. And so we have some, as I peer out the window here at camp, the sort of mixed precipitation coming down. It's kind of wet, rain mixed in with wet snow. And so not a particularly awesome situation. Luna's here coming in for some cuddles here. So in any case, we did the full exploration a year ago, or at least part of that a year ago. And then we filmed the section for this video back in September, so last September. So anyway, this feature was part of the original line of the Grand Trunk Pacific. So again, built between 1905 and 1908. And the reason why it's called that, the reason why it's called the Devil's Elbow, or more commonly the Moose's Nose, because it is a very, very pronounced curved feature in the railway line. And I'll show you a map here so you can kind of see what it looks like. And the purpose for that is because the terrain rises steeply as you move west out of Thunder Bay, right? So basically, Lake Superior is around 600 feet above sea level, where the train would have departed from the station in Westfort is around 620 feet or so. And then the land rises very, very steeply. And so the Grand Trunk and the NTR system had some very strict stipulations in terms of their grades. And so in order to keep the grade down, what they did was they built this very sort of pronounced loop in the line. And the purpose of that was to essentially lengthen the run of the line to lower the gradient as it moved to the west. And it created this very, very pronounced feature that looks like a moose's nose, or it looks like an elbow, a very sharp elbow, and hence the devil's elbow term. So today, basically, it lies very, very close to one of the major east-west roads on the western part of the city, which is called Mapleward Road. So essentially, if you were to traverse it, you would go from Mapleward Road and would loop. If you were following the natural path of the railway line, you'd start at Mapleward Road, loop around, and come back to Mapleward Road. Now, the feature itself is, you could actually kind of divide it into two parts. The southern part actually lies on private property, so I had to get permission to explore that portion of the line. And there was a lot of quarrying work and things like that. And so especially the middle part, right around where Alba Station was, it has been very disturbed, has been very sort of turned over, and it's very hard to see the grade. You can't make out where the station would have been. The northern part actually belongs to the city of Thunder Bay, so it's public property, and it's much more well preserved. There's actually some really neat features on the Moose's Nose. So on the southern part, there were two concrete culverts that were put in 1917. Sadly, one of them is gone. One of them has been ripped out. I don't know if it failed or what happened, or whatever the situations happened. It's been replaced by a modern metal culvert. The other one is still there. And then there's one on the northern side of the nose that basically is accessible to the public. There's also quite a beautiful little stone culvert that I imagine is original. Those concrete culverts were put in 1917, so they are not original construction. But in any case, it's a very, very beautiful section to walk or bike through. There's some fantastic rock cuts, and you can see some of the work that they did to sort of construct the railway line through the area. And it's kind of a little bit of a hidden gem, because a lot of people aren't aware of that it's actually it's actually there, and it's an old railway grade. So in any case, let's get to the video. All right, so here we go. So we're at the bottom end of Wapner Road, right where it intersects with the railway grade. So maybe before we get started, we'll show you a little map and give you an idea where we are. Okay, so we got about a 2 kilometer stretch or so. The first little bit here is wet. The crazy thing about this is that We haven't really had much rain in the last couple of months, and this area is still wet. So it tells you kind of how low and kind of how swampy it is. Apologize for the backlighting here. It was really cloudy, and just all of a sudden the clouds have kind of burned off, and so you're gonna see me very backlit on the one camera. Once we get into the cover here, it'll be a little bit better. So our first little point of interest here is coming up really quick. Trying out the new GPS again. Doing very, very well. Holding steady at 1.8 meters. Okay, so here's our first little interesting thing. And so what we have is we have a very, very old culvert. Now this culvert doesn't date back to the original construction of the railway line, which happened between 1905 and 1908. So this was done during the Canadian government railway days. And so you can see we have a nice concrete culvert. You can see the date stamp on there. I don't know how well you can make it out, but it's 1917 on there. The dog's trying to get a drink of water. Anyway, so we got more detailed information and more detailed views in the exploration videos, which you'll find a link in the description, and you'll be able to see all of the Moose's Nose features areas. Okay, so let's hop over the grade here and let's go take a look at the northern side. Way less water than was here in the springtime. So basically you can see again the culvert. It's all mucky and kind of gross, but again you can see the 1917 date stamp. Luna's in there like a dirty shirt. So you have this little creek that's coming down and basically feeding in water. This is a branch of the Nebing River, and so basically the the Nebing is one of the bigger rivers in the area, and so this flows in. It again crosses the grade on the southern part of the nose. So there used to be 3 of these concrete culverts, 1 here and 2 on the southern part that again picked up branches of this creek. 1 is still there. Sadly, the other one has been removed, and that was only done in the last maybe 20 years or so, but otherwise they were here for a very, very long time. All right, let's keep plugging along here. This trail is just absolutely gorgeous. Again, gives you a little bit of a feel of what it's like to ride on the railway line. Obviously, it sees a lot of particularly ATV traffic, which keeps down the brush, but really gives you a sense of what this railway line was once like. And you know, especially in the area around the city here, there's really not a lot of spots like this. There are a couple little other culverts here. I think there's one down here, but you can't really see much of it. There's a better one coming up. Again, make sure you watch the full exploration videos, and you'll see things in a little bit better detail. leaf caught in my next to my tire, and it was rubbing, trying to figure out where that sound was coming from. Low bridge. I saw this when I was coming by. Obviously somebody's got a little bit of a sense of humor. A little bit of a Christmas tree alongside the grade here. This is the second time I've been through here in the last, what, 4.5 months, and I hadn't previously been through here in quite a long period of time. Just doing other things. When I was younger and I used to live at home, a little bit easier drive to get here. It's a little bit further from where I live now. Not ridiculous, but a few extra kilometers. Okay, so I think I'm gonna need a piece of a couch. So I think this is where this other culvert is. Yeah, there it is. So let's go have a look. We can lean the bike up here. Okay, we're gonna pause that camera. So I would imagine, I don't know for certain, but this is probably original construction. I would imagine this dates back to when the railway line was constructed. Luna, come here. The dog's in there like a dirty shirt. So basically what you have here is you have a stone culvert. You can see through, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, you can see through to the other side. Again, just made out of the native material here, the native stone, and you'll see that because we have a rock cut coming up. And so again, really neat to see that. Okay, so down here on the north side, and so you can see the this opening of the culvert. Snap a picture of that. And so again, just looks really neat. Very pristine, very good shape. So amazing how it's held up so well. And again, in the springtime, there's water that's flowing through here, so still doing its job. All right, let's resume the journey here. So our next big kind of feature that's coming up is we're going to be passing through a fairly long rock cut, not particularly high, not probably 8 to 10 foot range, but just sort of indicative of why this whole feature was built. So again, this feature is known as the Moose's Nose. It's also referred to as the Devil's Elbow. It's called the Moose's Nose because it kind of looks like a moose's nose. And Devil's Elbow because it's kind of a really sharp bend in the railway grade. And basically this was all done for grade mitigation. Again, watch the exploration videos. You'll find that link in the description, and there's a whole bunch of videos on this area here, and so you'll see everything in a lot more detail. And so it'll explain to you essentially the whole purpose of building this big loop in the railway line. But again, it was all had to do with grades and trying to lessen the grades on this line. And so through part of here, obviously they had to do some rock work to try to bring the gradient down this line. So this was a Grand Trunk Pacific line, but what was interesting is that it connected to another sort of sister railway line. So basically the deal is that the Grand Trunk Company was going to build the western part of a transcontinental line in partnership with the Canadian government. So everything west of Winnipeg would be called the Grand Trunk Pacific, and everything east of Winnipeg to New Brunswick would be called the National Transcontinental, and that part would be built by the Canadian government. Now what's interesting about this line is that this was a Grand Trunk Pacific line, one of the first sections to be built, which would give the system access to Lake Superior, which was important. But it connected, because it connected to the east of Winnipeg, it connected to the NTR system, right? So just kind of a weird sort of situation there. And then that would affect the line and the whole history of it kind of going forward. So here we're starting to get into a bit of a cutting, and this is sort of the precursor to getting into the rock work. I wish that cloud would have stuck around. It was nice. It was really kind of diffusing the light, but whatever, is what it is. Like I said, the weather of late, if I haven't mentioned, it's just been crazy. It's actually not bad this morning. You hear the wind blowing, so we actually have a bit of a breeze this morning, and it's kind of a bit of a northeast breeze or something like that, which is nice because it's cool. It has been stifling hot the last week and a half, where we've had like temperatures with the humidity in the mid 30s, which is unheard of for this time of the year. It's been sweltering in the classroom. Like our school only has air conditioning in certain parts of the building, not in the classrooms, so it's been ridiculously hot and not particularly comfortable for anybody. And then I have football after school, and so it's just been killer in that heat. So this is a little bit of a welcome change. You can see that some of the leaves are starting to drop. That's probably going to accelerate. Oops, that sounded like a partridge. As the temperatures start to cool off a bit, particularly at night, that process is going to accelerate. Usually the best recipe for fall is a cool nights and warm days, and you get the best colors and before they drop. So here we're starting to get a little bit into the rock work. Luna's just like beside herself. She's so excited. All right, so here we get into the rock work, and one of the unique things about this, first of all, when we were here in the springtime, we were here in the end of April, and it was all wet, obviously, but you'll see the layered look to the rock, right? So you have all of this sort of shale-like appearance of the rock, which is really neat. Again, kind of sort of indicative of the rock in this particular area. We're gonna maybe stop and take a photo here. All right, so let's continue making our way through the rock cut here. Again, this would have all been flooded. You can see it's still wet, and like I said, we haven't really had much rain in the last 2 months. August was pretty dry, and then, like I said, September has been very dry and very warm, and it's still kind of mucky a little bit at the bottom. But that's typical in railway rock cuts. There's nowhere for the water to drain. and obviously it's not being maintained. Again, you can see just the beautiful appearance of the rock with all of the moss on it. Probably look a little bit better in the late fall when the leaves are gone. It's a little bit hard to see some of the things with some of the sides of the cut with all the leaves out. Again, gives you an idea of how narrow the right-of-way is. Not a lot of wiggle room, right? Remember, railway tracks here in North America are 4 feet 8 1/2 inches wide. One of those odd things that railway lines still use imperial measurements. So the width of the track is still measured in imperial and feet and inches, and the length of the railway line is still measured in miles, even though we are a metric country. So here the rock cut starts to come to an end, and we start to get back more into a cutting, and that eventually sort of peters out. Silly dog. Luna just loves being free and just being able to run. And smell. I love the how it's grown in, and it gives you kind of this little bit of a tunnel kind of appearance. So here, as we get towards the end of this section, the grade becomes a little bit more sort of elevated. Again, addressing some of those grade issues. Get some sort of flat areas here. West of the city, so as the line sort of continues to the west, we start getting into some of the a little bit more agricultural areas. What exists in this area? Not a great area for agriculture. Not particularly awesome soils for the most part. Another culvert in here somewhere. I think it's all collapsed right here. So we continue to climb, and again, the whole purpose of this big loop in the line, this Moose's Nose, was to lessen the steep climb out of the city as you head west. Right, the next station coming up, so we just passed just to the south of us on the south side of the nose was Alba Station. All of the Grand Trunk Pacific stations are mostly alphabetical, mostly. So we passed Alba. So the next station coming up is at Baird. So just to give you an idea, Lake Superior, or basically close to Lake Superior where the city is probably about 620 feet or so above sea level. The next station at Baird, which was at milepost 13 something or other, was 920 feet. So there's a pretty substantial climb, in a very, very short distance. And again, trains don't climb very well, so everything needs to be kind of nice and flat. This curve wasn't particularly awesome, right? So trains don't like hills, but they don't like sharp curves either. This area had a pretty sharp bend in it, hence the other name, the Devil's Elbow. So I think, yeah, we're coming up on the end of this section here. So it's kind of weird, this section starts, so the southern part, which is private property, so this part here where we started all along here belongs to the city of Thunder Bay. Basically, because it makes this loop, Luna, come here. Essentially, come here, Luna. I grab the dog, I don't want her going, the road is busy. So we start at Mapleward Road, and then we end up back at Mapleward Road. So just kind of one of those funny things that happens. So here is the end of our little jaunt here. So this is Mapleward Road, and on the other side of the road, the railway grade continues, but it's not a trail like this. It's actually a road. It's called Klein Road. And then the grade would continue west, and then it crosses the Nebing River, and there would have been a water tank. Okay, so hopefully you've enjoyed our little adventure today. It wasn't particularly long, but there were some really neat things to see. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed the little bike ride there. Again, it seems like forever ago that we recorded that, because again, it was back in September, and here we are in April. We're trying to play catch up with all of these past segments that we recorded. But again, it was very, very dry. You compare those to the original exploration videos that we did back in April. And again, last year we didn't have a lot of snow. So I'll post a link to those original videos, and you can take a look at the full exploration ones compared to the one that we filmed for this video. And you will see how much drier it is in there. It was quite wet in the springtime. And again, we didn't have a lot of snow, so it would be even wetter than it normally was. And there'd typically be more ice and things like that in some of the cuts and things like that, where the sun doesn't really get to and doesn't really warm up until much later on. But in any case, it's like I said, it's a very beautiful. Luna's still here and waiting for some cuddles. It's a very beautiful section to explore. And so that section was abandoned in 1925. So in 1925, CN made the decision earlier. So the decision was made around about 1923 that they began sort of work on sort of changing the route of this line. CN basically had two lines running westward out of Thunder Bay that basically paralleled each other's route, and so the decision was made to sort of consolidate those into one line. And so basically 28 miles of the original Grand Trunk line west out of Thunder Bay was abandoned in 1925, and so that was part of that section that was abandoned. But in any case, I'm very glad that at least that northern piece is public property and that people can basically access it. Again, there's some very beautiful features that are on there. The concrete culvert, the stone culvert. So, I know there are some people that are aware that it's there, but not everybody is aware that this railway feature still exists. Again, it does make for a very, very beautiful hike. So in any case, that is it for this particular episode. So we do have yet another episode coming up on the Grand Trunk. We are going to be taking a look at yet another abandoned piece of the original abandoned piece of this line. So part that was abandoned in 1925. And so our next episode is going to take us further to the west, so to the northwest, I guess, up around a place called Sistinen's Corners. And basically, we're going to take a look at sort of the last sort of westward piece of the original line that was abandoned in 1925, just north of the Matawan River. And that's, again, another beautiful little preserved section that maybe not a lot of people are aware of, and gives a nice little trail to sort of look at and explore. And we do have more Grand Trunk Pacific little explorations planned, at least to have another one on tap. And then again, hopefully, looking out the window here, that the weather cooperates with us, and I'm hoping the first week in May that I can get out for a hike, and then I've got a few more planned in the coming weeks after that, and then we're going to take a break for the summer. I'm going to do a little bit of sort of scouting, a little bit of recce's for the fall hikes, and I've got quite a number of hikes planned for the fall, and then hopefully we can continue exploring this line. Information continues to come in on this line, so I'm getting information from the Library and Archives Canada in Ottawa, and then I have some information that's coming in from sort of private sources as well, and so the knowledge base of the railway line continues to expand. So in any case, that's it for today's episode, and we will be back next month with yet another episode, like I said, on the Grand Trunk Pacific. So in any case, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next month.